And calls for progressive taxation and a fairer global tax system are growing louder as negotiations on a new framework of international tax convention accelerates. Speakers at the regional convening of the UN Tax Convention and ending austerity in Nairobi highlighted the urgency for African countries to define the scope of taxes that fall under international jurisdiction and speak to reforms that place the continent's interests at the center.
The United Nations, through the Intergovernmental Negotiating Committee, is working on a new framework convention on international tax cooperation, an initiative aimed at building a fairer and more representative global tax system. This effort, being championed by developing countries with a strong backing from civil society groups, argues that it could close the loopholes on unfair allocation of taxing rights and the recognition of unpaid care work within the fiscal policies and curtail harmful incentives that drain public resources.
Parliaments need to take this and run with it. And we need to also see the UN Tax Convention, because that's what it is, as a struggle against illicit financial flows, against tax evasion, tax avoidance, profit shifting. So let's get serious, Africans, and let's unite around this. Let's fight. Let's cascade it. African MPs fight for this at your parliaments. CSOs fight at your level.
It is important to really understand what tax justice means in terms of creating and implementing tax systems that are fair, that are equitable, and that promote social and economic well-being.
Speakers at the conference say, unlike indirect taxes such as VAT that remain under national control, this framework will address the global minimum threshold of taxes, focusing on direct taxes.
We want progressive taxes which do not burden the already marginalized groups such as women. And we also want to ensure that corporations are paying their fair share of taxes and not exploiting the continent where they make profit and send money outside the continent.
The Akina Wamama Africa says nations need to rethink their place in the wider global financial system and push for alternatives to the current financial order, arguing the current system is also gender blind and unjust as women carry the burden of regressive taxes.
Like when we talk austerity and we say, let's trim down, let's spend less on public services, where do we cut? Health, education, infrastructure. Who gets affected? The women. When teachers are sending children with homework every day, that's supposed to be schoolwork, it is sent home. When at hospitals there are no nurses and women are fitting in and doing the nursing at home for free.
Experts are proposing creation of an African monetary fund, a continental payment system to reduce reliance on the dollar, an African debt negotiation bloc or a borrowers club, as well as joint action against illegitimate debt. The message is clear that Africa should not just demand for a fair global tax system, but should also design and strengthen its own financial institutions like the African Development Bank to make sure it works for its own development. Wairi Mujenga for Prime Edition.